Welcome people on this video on stem cells. Now stem cells is a pretty important IGCSE Biology Edexcel triple topic. And what is it? Well, I'm going to teach you. What are stem cells? We're also going to explore, the ethical implications of using stem cells. The two types of stem cells, like adult stem cells and embryonic stem cells. But first things first, any ideas what I mean by this last mathematical function over here, dy by dx? Any ideas to the viewer? Yes, you. Yes. It refers to differentiate. Now, obviously, if you have no clue what this is, I apologise. This is a maths reference. But the point stands that stem cells differentiate into the cells that are shown here. The red blood cells, the platelets, the white blood cells. The stuff to begin with, the bone marrow stem cells, they can change and become red blood cells, platelets and white blood cells. Now these types of cells serve a function, and just like other cells, neurons, sperm cells, gametes, skin cells, muscle cells, cells, they all have a special purpose, don't they? Have a special task and function. So they come under this umbrella term of specialized cells. So stem cells differentiate into specialized cells. Initially, they're unspecialized. That's another factor to consider. So they're unspecialized / undifferentiated. That become specialized cells. So it's the undifferentiated to differentiated. Okay, sweet. We've defined stem cells, haven't we? And their functions. So they can differentiate into any of these cells, and there's a tendency in, let's say, embryos to differentiate into any cell type. Okay, but my question to you is, any ideas how they divide? So as you guys know, there's two types of cell divisions. This should give you the clue. We produce two daughter cells, and there's only one division, just like that Disney Plus show. I don't know if you get the reference, One Division. I'm probably going to rinse that joke in another video. But any ideas what this is? It's not meiosis, it is mitosis. So stem cells divide by mitosis. That is the process. Do not know less. Yeah. Brilliant. Now, there's a reason why I've drawn two sort of curly arrows here. There's two types of stem cells you need to know. One is adult, and as aforementioned, embryonic. So you got embryonic stem cells and you got adult stem cells. Now, let me just expand over here actually. Adult stem cells, they have this sort of ability to differentiate into different types of cells, but it's rather limited, okay? So take for instance hematopoietic stem cells. They come from the same patient, and they can differentiate into, really, to be honest, just the white blood cells, and obviously the sub-white blood cells like your phagocytes and lymphocytes, red blood cells, platelets and other cells. But embryonic has the ability to differentiate into all cell types. So it's like unlimited data from O2. And yeah, so it's important you know the differences. So adult stem cells, I write SC for short, stem cells. Adult stem cells can differentiate into some or many. Cell types. So it can give rise to like limited option. So you regard it as being limited. Whereas embryonic has the ability to differentiate into any or all cell types. So that's unlimited power. When Thanos said the 5 stones, was it 5 stones or 6? I don't know. Can differentiate into any cell type / all, and it's unlimited power. Alright, cool. So we know the differences. We know what stem cells do. They differentiate, meaning they change their sort of genetic expression. So if you think about it, this stem cell can differentiate into a red blood cell. It's going to switch off the gene for anything that's related to the nucleus, since a red blood cell doesn't have a nucleus. But with the stem cell going to this branch of white blood cells, it's going to amp up the genes required to produce antibodies, for instance, since white blood cells produce antibodies, lymphocytes to be exact. So yeah, so we talked about differentiation, we've talked about the 2 types. In this section here, I'm going to sort of squeeze in is the ethics and the sort of drawbacks. So I'm writing minus for drawbacks of using stem cells in medicine. Now, the most obvious benefit of a stem cell usage in medicine is that you're treating diseases, aren't you? If a patient has a heart attack and a part of their heart tissue is damaged, we could replace using stem cells, and those stem cells can differentiate into cardiomyocytes, muscle cells, to replace that damaged area. But the drawbacks are as follows. Number 1, with these 2 being stem cells and the fact they divide by mitosis, patients can be at risk of developing tumours. So it can give rise to the big C, cancer, because the mitosis can go horribly wrong. It could be rapid, uncontrollable. Number 2, stem cells can have the issue with virus transmission. So a virus can invade and take hostage. So virus transmitted could be a problem. The biggest ethical consideration and implication, and well, it's immoral, is if you use embryonic stem cells, considering they stem from a baby, stem from an embryo, there's going to be the issue of killing, isn't it? Killing embryos. Of course, you relate that to embryonic stem cells. But a better strategy would be using adult stem cells, because it stems from the actual patient. So that's another thing as well. Adult stem cells originate from the actual person / patient. Now, the next part I want to talk about is if you take stem cells from someone else. So let's say an embryonic stem cell situation here. Can anyone tell me what would happen to the patient if you take someone else's blood transfusion, someone else's embryonic stem cells, liver, kidney transplant? What is the issue if you got essentially a foreign entity body in your body? Any ideas? What happens? It's the opposite of acceptance. A lot of people on Instagram do this sort of therapy where they seek to be opposite of accept, rejection. Yeah. So there's rejection here, but in the context of the immune system. So your immune system rejects foreign antigens, so foreign material, because it doesn't recognize the molecular signature, does it? So instead of using embryonic stem cells, the adult stem cells seem a more viable route, a more feasible, safe route. Okay. I was talking about this with my year 11s actually, and there's a strategy to overcome that immunorejection, and that is to take immunosuppressants, which are drugs, says it on the tin really, to reduce your inflammation, your immune system. So you can take immunosuppressants. But there's a drawback in that, isn't there? Because you're making yourself more vulnerable to any secondary diseases. Yeah. So we've got immunorejection, you've got killing embryos. That's the ethics. it's important you say the word ethics as well, so it's like unethical. So right over here, so I know it's a bit squeezed, so unethical, and so on and so forth. Alright, so this is essentially everything you need to know about stem cells in well, 10 minutes and 14 seconds as counting. The next slide will be an exam question, and a big plea, ladies and gentlemen, is that you'd write your answers on the comment section below, because at the end of the day I could read your answers, I could give feedback, and most importantly I can go viral. So yeah, please, thanks. So as an embryo develops, cells differentiate. So here's a question. Explain the importance of cell differentiation in the development of a growing embryo. So draw links about an embryo and its growth and development. And you got an option here as well. You also have an ethical / evaluative question over here. Got 2 words for you guys. Good luck. And as you type, I'm going to give a 5-second countdown, so please do pause the video. Okay. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I've assumed you've answered the question, whether it's through a paper or typed it. Let's get started. But before we start, this keyword cell differentiation, that should have opened that mental image of those words, or even me saying dy by dx to make a mass reference. Yeah, you should have thought about the undifferentiated stem cells can change and differentiate into any cell type, because we're talking about embryos here, and many different cells make up tissues and organs. So take, for instance, the stem cells that differentiate into nervous cells become neurons, and those neurons make up nervous tissue, and those nervous tissue could make up the brain / spinal cord. And I'm sure we can say the same thing about different organ systems. So let's check the answer for that in a moment, but for part B, it's definitely not A, because I told you before it does divide, so we're ruling out A. For B, bit of a red herring, isn't it? They divide by mitosis. So if they tweak this, you know, that would have been the right answer. They can become all cell types, and here's another red herring. Okay, these are examiners, when they make these questions, they really, you know, use bias and use ways to really annoy and trick the student, don't they? Because look here, it's adult stem cells. If it was embryonic stem cells, 100% that would have been correct. And the right answer would have been D, because they're found in some tissues and organs, chief among them being the bone marrow. Amazing. Then the adult stem cells or embryonic stem cells can be used in medical treatments. Explain why the choice between these 2 types of stem cells can cause issues for doctors. So you're looking at the things I was talking about at the end, so like the drawbacks, killing embryos being unethical, immunorejection, and so on and so forth. And here is the mark scheme. So if you said cells, specialized cells, or cells with specific function, you get a mark. Tissues, organs, if you even pinpoint, like what I was talking about, neurons, you get a mark. D was the correct answer. And then if you look here, 7B, cells from an embryo can make any cell type. So they were talking about the embryonic stem cell and adult stem cell, and there's sort of nuance between them. All versus the many, limited versus unlimited. The word totipotent is actually an A-level phrase, just means it differentiates into any type. Okay, and then you got ethical issues that underpin, and that is killing embryos and so on and so forth. Fortunately, there's no mark scheme given for immunorejection or white blood cells, but there was definitely a mark scheme given for the fact that cancer can develop and tumour can develop. Okay, tell me what you got. Obviously I'll have a little look in due course, but hopefully you guys got 5 out of 5. If not, amazing, you're learning from your mistakes. So guys, please like, comment and subscribe. Take care, all the best on any cycle tests, end of unit exams, or the exam tomorrow. Good luck, good night, all the best.